Good morning, students. I welcome you to the online class Standard 8 Subject Physics. And I am Amos Michael, teaching physics in Mount Zion Matriculation Higher Secondary School, Pudukkottai. So, in this class, we are going to discuss about the static electricity. And in this topic, particularly, we are going to discuss about the methods of charging and the electroscope. So, what are the learning objectives? So the methods of charging. In methods of charging, there are three methods are employed. One is friction, another one is conduction, and finally induction. And then we are going to learn about the electroscope. Methods of charging. So when an uncharged object is rubbed with another uncharged object, then there is a friction between them. This friction charges the objects. The charging of an object by rubbing it with another object is called charging by friction. So when a glass rod is rubbed with a silk cloth, what happens? Some of the electrons from the glass rod is transferred to the silk cloth. As a result, the glass rod is left with positive charges and the silk cloth it acquires negatively charged. So during the friction, some of the free electrons gets transferred from one object to another. The object that loses electrons gets positively charged while the one that gains electrons gets negatively charged. So charging by conduction. When a charged body is in direct contact with an uncharged object, uh, transfer of charge can take place. Hence, when an uncharged conductor is brought in contact with a charged conductor, charge is shared between the two conductors and hence the uncharged conductor gets charged. So this process is called charging by conduction. Look at the diagram. So a metal sphere is placed or it is mounted on a stand. So it is electrically neutral. That means it is uncharged. So when a negatively charged glass rod is brought in contact with the neutral metal sphere, then the sphere it becomes negatively charged. So the positive charges are attracted by the negatively charged glass rod and then the sphere is left with negatively charged. Charging by induction. When a charged object is brought near an uncharged object, the charge on the charged object will attract the opposite charges on the uncharged object. So look at the diagram. If a positively charged object, say for example a positively charged glass rod is brought very near to the uncharged object, that is the sphere which is mounted on a stand, which is called uncharged. Now also in other words we can call it as a neutral. So if a positively charged object is brought near to the uncharged object, the negatively charged particles get attracted towards it, while the positively charged particles are repelled. We know that like charges will repel each other and unlike charges, that is the opposite charges, will attract each other. So in this way, the charged and uncharged objects attract. Charging by induction. So what is mean by charging by induction? Look at the diagram. So in the first diagram, a metal sphere is mounted on a stand, and in the second diagram, a negatively charged balloon it induces the electrons from the left side to the right side of the balloon. So here the negatively charged balloon it induces positive charge, it attracts the positive charge towards its direction and it repels the electrons, that is negative charge, away from its direction. So when we touch the negatively charged other part of the sphere, that is the negatively charged particles or the electrons leave the sphere through our hand and it enters into the ground. So in the diagram 4, the sphere now is charged positively. Okay, then if you remove the balloon, then the positively charged are evenly distributed itself over the sphere. The process of charging the uncharged object by bringing another charged object near to it but not touching it is called charging by induction. This process is called charging by induction. Electroscope is a device which is used for detecting the electric charge on an object, but that is whether an object is charged or not. So this gold leaf electroscope is invented in 1786 by Abraham Bennett. So this electroscope consists of a brass disc. There is an insulator plug at the mouth of the bell jar through which a brass rod passes. A brass disc is fixed on the upper end of the brass rod and the lower end has two thin, flexible and sensitive gold leaves. There are two earthed metal foil strips on either side of the gold leaves. They increase the sensitivity of the electroscope. So when we touch the metal top of the electroscope with an object and observe the gold leaves, on touching the metal top of the electroscope with a given object, if the gold leaves of the electroscope diverge, that is open up, then the given object has an electric charge on it. On the other hand, on touching the metal top of the electroscope with a given object, the gold leaves of the electroscope do not diverge, means that is do not open up, then the given object has no electric charge on it. So what is earthing of a charged electroscope? The process in which the metal top of the charged electroscope is touched with the finger and its charge flows into the earth through our hand and body is called earthing. So in general, we can say that the process of transferring an electric charge from a charged object to the earth is called earthing. So if we touch the metal top of the charged electroscope with our finger, it gets discharged and its gold leaves collapse, that is fold up. The electric charge present on the charged electroscope flows to the earth through our hand and body. So the electroscope loses all the electric charge, becomes uncharged and hence it's diverged, that means fold up. I hope that you will understand the concepts clearly. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.